You should think about it perhaps even more, velocity times profits per bottle. In the sense of the bottles take up a certain amount of space on the shelf, and even if your product sells slower, but it has a higher profit, and not higher profit margin, by the way, higher dollar profit. That seems to me what the right consideration should be for the store. But that's not how stores act, and that's not how distributors always act. And we couldn't convince him otherwise. We said, finally, if we were to tape 2 of our cases together, would that count? And he said, yes. But we couldn't figure out how to tape it in a way that worked. Now, sometimes that came back to our benefit, which is when you go into a store, the store makes you pay them something like a bribe. And the bribe is not that you give the guy money, but that you give them a free fill. That essentially, when they put your product up on the shelves, they get it for free and they only pay for reorders. Okay? And you could say in economics, it's like signaling. You're so confident you're going to sell through, you're willing to give them the first case for free. So the free fill is the first case for free. That only costs us 12 bottles. It costs Snapple 24. And so we got away with paying half as much to new accounts. And nobody ever questioned that either. And so, yes, it was stupid, but it was stupid both ways.
Barry, did you figure out why he refused to? I mean, because
the
visibility is a very big problem sometimes in these cases. Right? So one would
so one, the smartest people do not go into distributing beverages. And I did some ride-throughs with some of these folks, and what were you doing before? And before I was at Yale, I was at Princeton and Harvard. Where were you? Oh, I was in prison.
And was incredible to say that you were in prison too. Right?
Yeah, Princeton. No, prison. I was in jail. I was in Yale. Jail. That's jail. So it's Spanish. That's how it sounds. It's, I think somehow he was worried that people would only order one case and they wouldn't make enough money, as opposed to thinking about just what the sell-through would be. It doesn't make any sense.
Puzzle.
Yeah. But same puzzle the other way. When they ask for a free fill, they don't seem to notice either. Okay. So here's another puzzle. We go into a store and we don't see any honest tea in the cooler. And we go to the merchant and we say, look, here's all the data. And the product you have in the cooler, we're outselling that product 2 to 1 in terms of market share, and customers seem to like it. And the guy says, well, I know that. In fact, we used to carry it in the cooler. The problem is that it sold out too quickly. And we got a lot of complaints because people would then show up for lunch and the cooler would be empty. And we say, well, okay, well, what about restocking the cooler? Like, well, sometimes we didn't have time, or even if we did, we put the product in and it wasn't. And so we got, because it didn't have time to cool down, so therefore now we put this other product in there, we don't get any complaints. Okay, so how do you respond to that?
If it's worth the investment, you create the honesty small fridge with enough space and